Hello everyone, this is Terrence of the TSK Jesus Freak channel, and yeah. Okay, so there's, been, I have I'm trying to go philosophical, I'm trying to I'm kind of stuck in these, two places, and they're kind of polar opposite, from each other. What do I mean polar opposite? Of, okay, so, voluntarism and versus conservatism, specifically, or any other form of political philosophy. And so, I have to make a decision. There's a decision to be made, and so, and I'm kind of stuck in a hard place because, one hand, I don't really. One of the problems is I don't really consume too much libertarian content as much, because I find libertarian content is kind of boring, in my opinion. It's more interesting, and this is kind of probably one of the problems with voluntarism, and it's just boring. It's frankly, I think one of the things with voluntarism and libertarianism is it's kind of boring, and so it's not as exciting as the excitement of getting into politics or whatever. It's exciting to be politically active. It's not as exciting to say I'm not politically active or whatever, or whatever. So that's kind of the problem I've seen with most forms of libertarianism. And so, I mean, there's the ANCAP / voluntarist / agorist, and then I kind of made a switch, and then I'm and do I really want to do this, or I don't know. I just don't know. And frankly, I probably won't do anything. I won't. It depends on how much information do I have to give up to vote. If I have to give up a lot of information for me to vote, and it's another way to the government to track me, I'm kind of less interested in voting. I get voting, I'm not necessarily I'm not necessarily I know the government can figure out a way to find me, so to speak. But what I'm saying is that it's another mechanism that the government could use to make it if it weren't for I'm gonna have to look into the whole registration process of voting itself, because if I have to give up too much information that I feel comfortable with, I probably won't vote. Or that would kind of guarantee me to I'm not gonna vote, because I have to register, and I have to say where I live and all that stuff. I'm because I'm very much of a privacy-centered person, privacy / security-oriented person, which is why I've always had a conservative bent to me. And so, okay, I'm gonna go cheap. This is my way to go cheap in this game. It's cheap to it's cheap for me to nope, there we go. Okay, so it's cheap for me to get stone axes right now, because I don't. Long story short, I started a this is a second redo technically. So I wanted to say this 4 or 5 couple minutes in, because I just don't think it's relevant really that much, and I try not to do that. Anyways, but so there's been a lot of debate in my mind about how, like I want to take the voluntarist principle, but is that the right, like, I know it's kind of the moral thing to do, in my opinion, but, like, at the same time, am I not willing to, if I'm, like, there's a debate going on in my mind that if I do vote, am I is this, making things worse? Like, what do I mean? Like, am my action of voting making things worse, or of my actions, making things better? Like, and of course, most people would say voting makes things better. But in terms of, like, I'm just trying to debate in my mind about this, because, you know, it'll be like kind of every 4 years, and I want to see, now if the government, in terms of, like, the government, nap time, or, if the government is trying to, or, like, if I have to register to vote, like, I know I have to register to vote, obviously, but in terms of, it depends on how much information they want to get out of me, and so, oh, nice cherry coke, oh, so good, I like my cherry cokes, and no, it's not the diet version, oh, I hate diet, anyways, so, like, this is like plaguing my mind for past several months. Like, I've been, like, mentally flip-flopping for the past several months, and then I officially flip-flopped on this issue. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, and so, I just don't know what the right answer is. Like, I know there's clearly the wrong answers, and it's quite obvious that there's a lot of clearly wrong answers. Like, there's particular, political factions that I would never vote for, like, but, like, voting itself is that, like, is participating in a, like, because it depends on how you view it, is really the crux, now it might just boil it down to, like, I don't want that much information going to the government. I mean, the government already knows where I'm at. Like, they can figure it out, but it's, like, it's a little bit harder for them to figure where I'm at. So, like, what do I mean? Like, if I don't register and I do not vote, that means it makes it harder for the government to go after me. It's that one extra step that the government has to, like, which is kind of the reason why I might end up not voting, because of that reason. Like, I'm not gonna register to vote, because if I register to vote, the government can come after me for whatever reason, or it's easy for the government to come after me. I know the government can come after me numerous ways, but it's just an extra. It's not like I'm giving the information to the government. If I'm not giving information to the government, it makes the government harder for them to go after me for whatever reason. If there's a situation where I did register to vote, and, like, 10 years later we live in this, like, dystopia situation where Christianity is by far more or less banned, and with the unlikelihood that Christianity will be outright banned in maybe on a cultural standpoint, but not on a legal standpoint. But if for whatever reason Christianity gets banned, and which I don't think it will get banned in the United States, I think it will just wither out, or cultural Christianity would wither out. So so in the next, like, what, especially 5 to 10 years from now, it's like, oh, you're a Christian? Oh, you're actually a real Christian. Not this, like, are you a Christian or are you a cultural Christian? So I'm kind of, like, on that point, on that front, I'm kind of glad that there's a cultural Christianity is dying, which I'm happy that cultural Christianity is dying. as a Christian, because I don't like there's aspects of cultural Christianity. Um, there's aspects clearly I enjoy the fruits of cultural Christianity, but I do realize that the cultural Christianity is very much not really truly believing Christians. So, and I take a very reform-minded stance on biblical issues. So, and I would say I would more or less be a maximalist, because most evangelicals in the United States, at least, take more of a minimalistic approach of what's the minimum do we have to believe to keep and hold of Scripture. Like, I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. I want to be able to to get it correct, get my theology correct as humanly possible. I know it's not like 100% possible, but it's like because that's impossible to basically. Do I want this? I'll probably kind of use it. I don't know. But that's using Silk Touch. I might not want to use this much because this is where my ice pick is. You know what? No, I'm not gonna do that. Nope, not gonna use it. Actually, in fact, I'll probably go back to my main base, which is gonna be a long process. I still haven't done the update yet because I'm still wanting to get more gold. Like that's the idea, is to get as much gold as possible, and then wait until the 16.1 or whatever, or 16 point whatever. So I can update it now, and then I can update this Minecraft now. But I kind of want to wait until the bugs are out, or the bugs get fixed or whatever, or the bugs from version 16 gets fixed or whatever. So yeah. So so like in terms of like, yeah, so like I have this constant debate in my mind: do I go for more conservative route, or do I go for the more libertarian route? And I've always been, statistically speaking, a libertarian with a conservative viewpoint, of like a conservative twist to it, I would say. And of course, there's another thing that I've kind of thought about, is coming up with my own philosophy, like my own unique philosophical thing. So like, what I'm thinking is, this is kind of my thoughts on making up my own kind of philosophy, political philosophy or anti-political philosophy, depending on how you look at it. So like, if like I'm thinking, so if I had a society that is run by me, or a city, a private city, in the context of a private city, this is kind of why I'm always framing it in a private city oriented, because as a private city I have private ownership, and if I own a large oil rig that gets converted into an actual city, that's kind of close. I almost jumped off. I'm fine jumping off now, but I'll be able to survive, but not not soon. And my thing will eventually go back on the right side of this. But anyway, so in terms of I'm thinking about just coming up with my own personal political philosophy and just kind of sticking to it and not care. Because this is what I think. This is what I think it should happen. And there's a lot of like viewpoints of like there's a lot of things that I could like, I'm not gonna like my politics, like there's a lot of problems. The way I see it, like there's a lot of stuff that can happen that would, in most people's minds, that's kind of an extreme measure to why don't you have, so like in terms of like, so if I have a private city and that private city is large enough to hold 100,000 people. Okay, so the private city can successfully hold 100,000 people. Okay, I know it's a big city, but whatever. Whatever the case it is, it's a private city. Oh, crap. I gotta eat something. Eat more steak. Yeah. So in terms of like I don't believe in big metropolitan areas of more than like really so how I would set up my private city is that there will be a mandate that so it will be ruled by a council of 12, and one of the council members is the leader, and then the other 11 doesn't gets the vote, but the leader does not get the vote. So there's always kind of like, yes, the leader is leading the council, but that leader doesn't have a vote, but the other 11 does have a vote to prevent a gridlock. Is basically because you can't split a vote. You can't split 11 into, and this is kind of why I'm like thinking that I'm just gonna go with make up my own political philosophy, frankly, because if I make up my own political philosophy, it's kind of my philosophy, and this is how things should run or whatever. I mean, that's really boils down to how things should run for the most part in most political philosophies out there. So, how society should run. And I'll probably have a quote unique perspective on that because and for like the reason why I say out the 100,000 is the reason why I say the 100,000 because I don't believe in like big metropolitan areas. So like I'll have I'm in the process of making an official document that I'll post on my website, and I'll have like a PDF and a blog post that's dedicated to that. But like one of the unique aspects is to basically have a private city that has a max, like legally speaking, in that private city, the rules and regulations say that the private city can have no more than 100,000 people, and once it gets to 95,000 people, and it depends on the rate of the increases per year, yearly increases. So if my population grows by 1,000 residents per year from births and immigrants, then I would say, okay, so in 5 years I have to make preparations for so whatever the growth rate is, and then add 5 years. So the current growth rate is like 1,000 people, and so the council has to make plans to basically, the ruling council has to make plans to basically take a big chunk of the city and separate the city. Okay, so the idea is it will never go much past of 100,000. Okay, and there's several reasons why I don't want to have it passed at 100,000. Because I want to be able to mitigate risk. Okay, so for every and it'll be kind of like an idea of like so it's kind of like a force it'll be it'll be kind of a force mechanism within the city system, within this private city system, of like where it gets to, like, let's just say, for example, it gets to be 95,000. I have 95,000 people living in my private city, and the expected growth rate of that city in the next 5 years is 1,000 people. So I have to make plans, as the ruling council has to make plans to basically come up with a plan to take roughly 25,000 people and basically kick them out of the city to make a new city. So, which is why I'm thinking it's going to be a 5-year plan once it gets to 95,000, 1,000 person growth rate per year. So which makes it, so those 25,000 people would essentially create their own system, and it depends on how I do it. There might, I won't necessarily control the new city. I will have no say in the control of the new city. So basically the idea is to create a new city at every 100,000. Take the 100,000 people, or close to 100,000 people, and you take away 25,000 people, and you put them over into a different city, and so they can create their own city and enact their own policies. And so it's kind of a way to give 25,000 people, and of course the idea is to the whole idea is to basically kind of have different systems, different private systems. So if the private city decides to, and I might have make it in the clause where the private city, the newer private cities, so not my private city, but the ones that came off of me, more or less have to basically agree to cap it at 100,000. Okay, so for every new city that I produce, I have to cap it at 100,000. So in theory, my quote city would keep bringing in or keep producing 100 or keep producing cities every 10 to 20 years or something like that. So it gets knocked down to 25,000, and then those 25,000 would end up setting up their own private city, and it's completely on their end how they want to do it. If they want to do it like what I do, that's fine. If they want to do something different, that's completely fine. But it's kind of here's 25,000 people, and here's a structure, but you guys can get to do what you want to do with it at the end of the day, and we don't have any say or power over you. So if you want to have more of a pure democracy, that's fine. If you want to have more of a kingship model, that's fine. It depends on how they want to do it. And the idea is to basically never get to a point where these cities, these private cities, ever get so massive that it would be like an empire in the sea, a sea empire, because a sea empire would end up creating the same issue, frankly. So, I'm very much against empires. And so that's kind of I'm making up this philosophy just because I want to make up my own philosophy, just to say this is my unique thoughts on this whole process. And I'm always for more smaller towns and smaller governing units. So I'm gonna take a bite out of my lasagna. This is a high quality podcast, or not podcast, YouTube video of me taking a bite out of my lasagna. Now it's kind of lukewarm. So good. And the nice thing is, it's a vegetarian lasagna. So they basically make lasagna into this vegetarian type of thing. It's a frozen lasagna thing. So the food factory made it put all the ingredients together and then make it into this thing. What am I doing? Okay, I need to go upstairs. And then so that's kind of I'm almost debating whether I should just make up my own political philosophy, and that's how I would end up approaching my own political philosophy, and so that's kind of where I'm thinking I'm gonna go and be like, okay, oh, the sand. Sand is actually in the sand. Because I have, like, I decided to put red sand with the other sand, but in a different chest. You'll see, you'll see. You'll see sand right here. This is my shower, by the way. I'm gonna shower in a little bit. After I put the sand away. Boom, boom, boom. See? Red sand. And then, oh, just regular sand, but I have a chicken farm. So sand room, the sand room. So this is what I do. I go up the ladder. And then, voila, I'm showering. Shower, 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 shower. And there we go. And the reason why I had to do all of this sign so that this is a dispenser, and so it does water out. And if I don't have these blank signs, water will be all over the place. So, which is why I've ended up doing that. Anyways, I'm gonna take another bite out of my lazy vegetarian lasagna. So good, so good. I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's not as salty. It's a bit salty for my taste, but it's not as salty as some of the other stuff out there. Some of the other frozen stuff. Let me put you in there. Okay, so I need to do this and then throw this in there. Okay. Okay, so I'll get that going, and then actually I don't really have, and since I got okay, I'll make 4 and then put these 4 up here. Actually, I'm gonna start putting these. I typically go up and down, up and down, up and down, but I'm like, yeah. It's raining! No, it's not gonna rain in a little bit. There we go. Okay. Now I'll probably put these back up here. Nah, what the heck. Or whatever. It's tradition. So I'll definitely need to like look at that closely and then look at that closer too. There's a skeleton that was burning right over there, or it was. Am I gonna go out there and fetch it? No, I'm not gonna care about the very few items that it would give me. So, oh, slime, slime, slime. I don't really have this is how much slime I have. Like, I know I can get a lot more slime, but if I was to, be more, I mean, I guess I could, be more active, and, like, if I wanted to get a lot more slime, I could put the effort into getting more slime, but I'm not gonna put the effort for something that, frankly, I'm not really caring about that much, as I'm trying to kind of burp without burping, but whatever. So I'm actually gonna like finish this video. I'm gonna try to finish these videos before the 30-minute mark, for like the 29-minute mark or whatever. So I'm gonna end this for this one. So my goal is to have about 29 minutes of each. The reason why I don't want to go over 30 because I don't want to. But so thank you so much for hearing me out and watching me play Minecraft and while talk about philosophy. So I am gonna sign out and not sign out, but end the video basically. So